By the way, one thing I didn't tell you about Qarun, I talked about Qarun's branding, but Qarun acquires his wealth by any means necessary. فَبَغَى عَلَيْهِمْ. Right? He acquires his wealth by any means necessary. So when he becomes an idol, every person who's not a Qarun says, one day I'm going to have the same money as Qarun. And if Qarun got there by being cutthroat and by pushing people down any chance they get, what do I have to do to get there? I have to have the Qarun mindset. I have to put everybody's competition. I will shake your hand, but I'll be stabbing you in the back with my mind. Right? I'm just looking out for myself. I'm just looking at everybody as an obstacle. Every human being is either an asset or a liability. That's all they are. They're no longer human beings because I'm a Qarun. I'm psychologically a Qarun, right? So I'm a pure capitalist. I just capitalize on people, on opportunities, and I'm hyper individualistic and hyper, manipulative. And this mindset is not just in business. Then this becomes a mindset in families, in neighborhoods, in everything in life. You become this way. You become this hyper individualistic way. And this is the opposite of the personality of a believer who's good to the parents, good to the children, giving sadaqah to family, taking care of the neighbor. You're concerned for others, and the Qarun mindset is hyper individualistic, concerned with self. And everybody else is just ready, a lamb ready to be slaughtered. That's the mindset, right? So that's, again, الَّذِي جَمَعَ مَالًا وَعَدَّدَ. Then there's a mindset of, well, we're a successful business. We make this much money. We are a gift to the world. Look at our building. Look at our revenue sheet. Look at how we've brought civilization to this country or this place. We are special. And you know what? Because we're special, the laws don't apply to us. And you know what? These consumers, actually, they're stupid. Customers are stupid. They don't know what they want. We'll tell them what they want. So you have this attitude of you're human, everybody else is insects. لَيْسَ عَلَيْنَا فِي الْأُمِّيِّينَ سَبِيلٌ. And this gets developed in oligarch societies, this mindset. أَمَرْنَا مُتْرَفِيهَا فَفَسَقُوا فِيهَا is another conception that happens in these extreme wealth disparity societies and corrupt businesses, which is, this ayah has two readings. I'll just share one of them with you. When a society is on the verge of destruction, Allah says it takes the most obscenely wealthy people, the obscenely crazy wealthy people, and He makes them the people in power also. So usually there's the political class and there's the business class, but if a society is close to destruction, the business class becomes the political class. Right? They come into power. Or even if they don't directly come into power, they control the power. So there's the ayah amarna mutrafiha, which is also read amarna mutrafiha. There's a reading of this ayah amarna mutrafiha. We empower the most powerful elite in that society, and they cause all kinds of corruption because they got to that level of wealth by caring about no one. And the entire job of a government is to care about who? Everyone. But now the people that care about no one are running the institution that's supposed to care about everyone. You're ready for that. Society is ready for destruction. I say this as I live in the United States. I'm terrified. Okay. يُذَبِّحُونَ أَبْنَاءَهُمْ وَيَسْتَحْيُونَ نِسَاءَهُمْ. One of the things Fir'aun did, and this is actually a policy that Allah didn't just mention in passing, it is a policy. One of the ways that the oligarchy keeps society from rising is that it slaughters men and commodifies and uses women. This is going to sound crazy, but that's okay, I'm leaving soon. It slaughters men and commodifies women. The pharaohs used to slaughter the baby boys and let the women live. Nowadays, you don't have to slaughter men, you just have to put devices in front of them and content in front of them so they never become men anyway. So then they're slaughtered before you didn't have to raise a knife to slaughter them. And then you commodify and sexualize women any way you can. And this will keep society from ever rising. Both men and women being destroyed in this way. يُذَبِّحُونَ أَبْنَاءَهُمْ وَيَسْتَحْيُونَ نِسَاءَهُمْ. And Qur'an says Fir'aun kept his people, he did istighfaf and istifzaz of his people. He kept his people lightweight. In other words, these people didn't have any momentum. They didn't have any power to stand up against Fir'aun, even though he was an old man. How did he do it? It basically slaughter the men and commodify the women. That's how he did it. And so that will be a formula you'll see in societies that will not ever be able to rise against that kind of corruption. Then, of course, in those kinds of societies, because people are not, if people start pushing towards meaningful industry, then there will be an economic rise. And if there's an economic rise, the people at the extreme top will not feel so superior anymore because other people are coming up. They actually like it when people are further down. They enjoy that. So they push entertainment industries into society heavily. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْتَرِي لَهْوَ الْحَدِيثِ لِيُضِلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Right? Surah Luqman. It has global implications and timeless implications, this ayah. There are people who purchase useless speech so they can keep people misguided from Allah's path, from the path that's intended by Allah for them. Right? So what they will do is sports, music, concerts, entertainment, film series, dramas, social media addictions, whatever. Just keep people busy in entertainment, distraction, entertainment, distraction, entertainment, distraction. So they're going from one app to another, to another, to another, to another, to a sports event, to a this, to a that, to that. And their life is just flooded with so much entertainment that there's no brain space left for anything meaningful to be able to do. Right? And so the language is so specific in this ayah. There are people who have the power to purchase entertainment to misguide the population. يشتري له الحديث ليضل يعني الآخرين, to misguide others. So it's a pretty powerful corrupt practice or strategy that we have to become mindful of. What's the solution the Qur'an offers is, first, upright business practices. أوفوا الكيل إذا كلتم. Give equal measure, give full rights to the customer, sell the products and services with transparency, be fair and balanced in the goods and services. ولا تكونوا من المخسرين. Don't shortchange people. وزنوا بالقسطاس المستقيم. ولا تبخسوا الناس أشياءهم. And don't take things from people without the people noticing them. Right? And also, bakhs is also interesting in that, for example, I notice here you have a lot of buildings, and if you get an apartment, they have services, like they maintain the pool and they maintain the whatever, and they take a fee. They take a fee for it, right? A monthly fee, right? And you agree to this money that you're going to give every month, so the place is taken care of, and you'll notice they're still taking the money, but the building's not taken care of. Or there's always a mess here or there. And then you're left complaining, sent to voicemail, email, not responding, group meetings, this, that, but it's not being solved. And then they say, yes, we'll get to it. And they'll get to it a little bit for a month or two and back to the same old again, right? And then the customer gets tired of complaining, so they just say, it is what it is. What are you going to do? Right? And they're hoping that the customer gets tired. This is bakhs. Bakhs is actually a kind of exhaustion that's created from the consumer, that they no longer have the energy to stay on hold for 40 minutes to find out why they got billed extra, right? So they actually put you on hold longer so that they can get away with it, because they know your time's too valuable. You'll eventually give up, right? So you just have time, just take it, whatever, I don't care anymore. This is وَلَا تَبْخَسُوا النَّاسَ أَشْيَاءَهُم. Allah says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَأْكُلُوا أَمْوَالَكُمْ بَيْنَكُمْ بِالْبَاطِلِ إِلَّا أَن تَكُونَ تِجَارَةً عَنْ تَرَاضٍ مِّنْهُمْ. No transactions should happen among you that have any kind of cheating or lying or misrepresentation. The only kinds of transactions that should happen is both parties know exactly what they were getting into. How many times are we getting into contract agreements we don't even know what we signed up for? Or they misrepresented what was happening. And the manager at the store told you this. When you come back and say, no, that's not our policy. But the manager told me, yeah, but that's not our policy, sorry. Okay, we're under new management. And what does that mean? The actual manager is hiding in the shoe closet while you're there. Right? Because they don't want to be open about what they say. And then, oh, this line is being recorded. Or, I don't know who you spoke to, sir, but that's not what we do here. Well, I just spoke to you 2 hours ago. It was you, right? So when you do this, when you do enough of this, the scamming and cheating, then you know what eventually happens? Crime increases and people retaliate and people get killed. Like sometimes you wonder if the CEO of United Health read this ayah, he would be still alive. Allah says, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Don't get yourselves killed. Don't kill yourselves. The ayah that says don't cheat each other and scam each other in business is the ayah that says don't kill yourselves. What does that tell you? When enough of this happens in society, violent crime increases in that society. So remember I told you prosperity and safety are interconnected? So they're interconnected in this ayah. Listen to this. This is a scary one. وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا أَمْوَالَكُمْ بَيْنَكُمْ بِالْبَاطِلِ. Don't cheat each other out of each other's money using false lies. وَتُدْلُوا بِهَا إِلَى الْحُكَّامِ. And don't dangle money in front of government officials. I'll use creative translation. Basically, it's the same point. Don't dangle money in front of who? Government officials. لِتَأْكُلُوا فَرِيقًا مِّنْ أَمْوَالِ النَّاسِ بِالْإِثْمِ. So that you get to take a portion of the people's wealth sinfully. You get to scam the public by dangling money in front of government officials. وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. And all of you, meaning the government officials and the corrupt business people, know what you're doing. You know what you're up to. Man, I don't think any khutbah will ever happen on this ayah anywhere in the world. Because this is... Just read this ayah and go. And this is, by the way, this ayah is soon after the ayat of Ramadan, I believe. Right? It's actually right after, I think. The ayat of Ramadan. Like once you're spiritually rejuvenated, okay, well your spirituality should translate into a clean economy. It's right after the ayat of Ramadan. Right? وَتُدْلُوا بِهَا إِلَى الْحُكَّامِ لِتَأْكُلُوا فَرِيقًا مِّنْ أَمْوَالِ النَّاسِ بِالْإِثْمِ وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. Okay. So I've already talked to you about how the pursuit of wealth or the pursuit of material gain or business is not an evil in the Qur'an. Allah made that a natural enterprise and a natural endeavor. Actually, Allah mentioned it even with Adam alayhi salam. Allah honored the children of Adam and allowed them to board or travel in the land and in the sea. Part of our ability to do business. وَرَزَقْنَاهُ مِنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ. Right? So there's plenty of indication in the Qur'an that the business enterprise is a blessed enterprise. So I talked to you about business corruption. That's one side. But there's two sides of an economy. There's the seller and there's the buyer. We talked about the seller's corruption. Now we got to talk about the buyer's corruption. Now the consumers can also be corrupt, right? So the consumer is your average human being. I come from a business background. I went to business school. I got great sleep in my lectures when I was in business school. But one of the things you study a lot in business school is consumer behavior. You have to understand your customer. You have to understand consumer psychology. Advertising is based on it. Marketing is based on it. And actually now, social media giants and the marketing data analytics is a huge industry, right? Where you have to keep track of where are people's eyeballs going? Where are they tapping? How, from the point of exposure to an ad, how many times do they have to see the ad before they actually went to the point of sale? And how many people fall off from the point of sale and actually go through the entire transaction? All of this stuff is now studied at length. That's a huge part of understanding the behavior of a consumer, right? So the more we know about a consumer, the better you're able to sell to them. The better you're able to, and this is not just in the age of technology. Even in the old times, I used to go with my mom to buy cloth. Pakistani women have a thing about buying cloth. They don't buy clothes, they buy cloth. And they get a sewing machine, and that's what they do. And when you go to buy cloth, you're just looking at these rolls and rolls of cloth. It is the most boring. I would rather be in a library. Can you imagine if I would rather be in a library, how bad that is? Right? And of course, mom would take me, and now she's looking at cloth. And what am I going to do? And if I do enough of that, what's she going to do? She's going to leave. And so the shop owner, as soon as we walk in, he knows that the enemy of his business is who? Is me. He knows that. The smart shop owners have a stool for the child. They have a couple of toys. Hey kid, just do this. And then he's like, yeah, look at this one. This one's a little more. I'm like, Ma, you do your thing. And he's got a little chocolate on the side. It's the cost of doing business. He understands his customer. You understand? This is consumer psychology. Does the Qur'an give and if all of us are consumers, all of us are consumers, what are some comments Allah has made about our nature? What kind of creature are we, human beings? خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. Human beings were made weak, which refers to our willpower. It's a reference in many ways to our willpower. We're not very strong-willed. I'm on a diet. You put a chocolate cake in front of you. I'm on a diet. The person starts eating the chocolate cake. Okay, just one bite. خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. You can't. You know? They say, no. I don't even eat carbs. I do it all the time. إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ خُلِقَ هَلُوعًا. Halua means they feel an emptiness inside. They have an emptiness within them. Can an advertiser take advantage of the emptiness you feel inside? Feeling empty? Get liposuction. You'll feel emptier. Like, feeling empty? Wear these shoes. They'll fill your soul. Not your foot sole, like your soul. Jazur. They get hopeless. They get agitated. Tired of humidity in your home? You know? Picking on people's frustrations. Picking on that. Manua is they don't want other people to have good. Save enough. Let me help you build your wealth. Get rich quick. إذا مسه الخير منوعا وإذا مسه الشر جزوعا. Then qatur means I don't want to give even a single drop away to somebody else. Right? So you'll see entire advertising industries focused on consumers building their wealth and building up their savings. Right? They're bakhil, they're miserly. يريد الإنسان ليفجر أمامه. Another consumer behavior. Human beings want to just jump into something right in front of them. It's called impulsive buyers. Impulsive consumption. So in a grocery store, this is old advertising, but it still works. In a grocery store, the thing you need is milk. And the thing you need is eggs. So they should put it at the cash register, right next to the cash. Where's the milk and the eggs? Oh, you have to make hijrah to get to the... Why? Because on the way, there's the chocolate chip cookies, and there's the juice, and there's all the things you don't need. And you will come back with a full cart and you forgot to get the milk and the eggs, right? And as you're about to check out, oh, there's some chocolates and this and that, right? Because you start picking up those things because they know people are impulsive buyers. People are impulsive in their behavior. يُرِيدُ الْإِنسَانُ لِيَفْجُرَ أَمَامَهُ. They don't think about the long-term consequences of the decision. Just the immediate dopamine hit, they'll do it. They'll watch it. This liyafjura amamahu is, for example, the reason you have a lot of very eye-catching and eye-popping and offensive or crazy thumbnails for videos. Because watch this and you will something, or the craziest this or that, and people are like, oh, I know I have a meeting right now, but and they have to watch that, right? So we have that tendency. Allah says, وَأُحْضِرَتِ الْأَنفُسُ الشُّحْ. One way to understand that is human beings are compelled sometimes, or they are brought to be extremely, what's a good way to describe shuh? Shuh means care about no one else, obsessed with oneself. Ardun shihah is a land, water doesn't get through it. Like you can see somebody suffering, nothing happens to you. You don't care about nobody else. Nothing gets through inside you. All you are concerned with is who? Yourself. So there can be an entire self-love industry. Right? Take care of yourself, get a little me time, you do you, self-empowerment, self, nafs. Take a selfie, a nafsi. Yeah. So there is that. Promoting that selfishness. فَخَرَجَ عَلَى قَوْمِهِ فِي زِينَتِهِ. I told you class-based consumerism develops in people. So people become obsessed with brands. People become obsessed with expensive restaurants, even if it's bad food, because they get to take a picture there and say that, look where I'm sitting, right? They'll go to a vacation, they don't even enjoy it, but they're going there because they get to show that they went there, right? Then there's reckless, actually not consumption, reckless even spending, and consumption's fine. يَقُولُ أَهْلَكْتُ مَالًا لُبَدًا. They brag about how much they spent. right? They want to be able to say, I spent so much money on this or that or the other, because it's a way of showing that I'm more than you. I'm more valuable as a human being than you are. And then extreme frugality. And finally, this is an important one, so I'll take some time, a minute for it. Mukhtalun fakhur. Human beings have an imaginary picture of themselves. They have an imaginary self-image. And in that image, you're greater than you actually are. You're superior to other people, you know. And then fakhur is you want to show that superiority by demonstrating your pride against other people, right? So standing out from the crowd, or anything that will help you maintain your self-image, or maintain that fake picture of yourself more. And actually probably a good example of the mukhtal industry, right, is surgical enhancements and extreme makeup and do-overs and like stuff that just changes who you are entirely, right? At some level, beautification is okay, but mukhtal is like you're just you have this imaginary picture of who you are and you're feeding into that, you know? And then fakhur is, of course, your ability to show your superiority to others. And I think with social media, now a new currency is how many followers do you have, right? And if you have 3,000 followers and your friend has 2,500 followers, well, right? Because you were able to show your superiority by engagement, likes, mashallah, whatever it is you go after, right? And then when people get obsessed with that, they're posting something and they're checking to see how many likes, how many thumbs ups, how many hearts, how many mashallahs, etc., right? The solution is a certain kind of mentality. And by the way, the answer is Surah Al-Ma'arij is probably the best place for this. إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ خُلِقَ هَلُوعًا إِذَا مَسَّهُ الشَّرُّ جَزُوعًا إِذَا مَسَّهُ الْخَيْرُ مَنُوعًا إِلَّا الْمُصَلِّينَ. People who pray. What does prayer do in the life of a believer? Call it out. What are some advantages of prayer? Stability, humility. It steps you out from life for a few minutes, right? You step out of whatever it is and you get to look at yourself and in front of Allah, and then you go back in the world, then you come out again, then you go in again. So you never stay completely drowned. You keep coming out. It's your mini umrah. It's your mini hajj. That's what salah is, right? What it does is it calibrates the human being and it balances the human being. Extreme consumption and all the behaviors I just talked about are extremes and they're imbalances. And the salah is a way of regulating human beings and making them balanced. The concept of an Islamic economy isn't just, oh, we have riba-free banking. The concept of an Islamic economy isn't just we have halal food or halal clothes. The concept of an Islamic economy isn't just about the businesses. An Islamic economy also has to be about the consumers. And a Qur'an education, a Qur'an culture, if we promote these values, the value of gratitude, patience, I put some of these purposefulness, al-qasdu fil mashi, al-ghadb min as-sawt, not raising your voice, not trying to get attention, the obsession to get attention. Is that a social media problem? Right? When Surah Luqman says, وَغْضُضْ مِنْ صَوْتِكَ, lower your voice, is what? Don't try to get attention. Right? And there's an entire seeking attention culture now. Right? And then at-tasadduq, giving charity, zakah, giving to people that are close to you. By the way, frivolous spending was put right after taking care of your close relatives. Because if you have that much money to spend, I'm sure you have relatives that could have used it. Right? So there's this concern for family that Allah talks about over and over again. And of course the remembrance of Allah. If these things were taught as something that impact your behavior as a consumer from childhood, with practical examples, taking kids to a grocery store and saying, okay, let's find out what tabdheer is and what balanced spending is. Giving children a budget to show them how to actually navigate a budget effectively and still be happy, take care of themselves. Kulu washrabu, enjoy. Allah didn't take away enjoyment. I already established that, right? Allah wants you to eat. Allah wants you to enjoy. He made things that are meaningful and enjoyable. But is there such a thing as too much and too little? Yeah. So, if a Quran-inspired education is one in which we are trying to create Quran-inspired consumers, then the economy is getting balanced from the top with the businesses and also from the bottom from the customers. Because if you just fix the businesses but you never fix the customer, you didn't fix the problem. This is not a top-down solution or a bottom-up solution, it's a both solution. It's a spending, and it's an investment, the business side and the spending. Both of them have to get corrected. That's when an economy gets corrected. And so when so much is being spent on influencing consumer behavior, we need to think about a Quran-inspired society that influences a Quran-inspired consumer behavior. That has to happen. This is why I said in the beginning of my lecture, our religious education does not make us think about consumption. It makes us think about prayer and fiqh and aqidah, but it doesn't make us think about how we behave in the marketplace, how we behave as individual buyers and customers. It's not giving us that education or that inspiration or making that the normal. And what happens then? Instead of a Qarun industry, which is based on, extreme wealth is the ultimate objective, right? Because when you have a Qarun industry, that's your ultimate goal. If you can get there, you made it. When you have a Quran-inspired consumer, their ultimate objective is they were able to achieve balance. Balance is actually the ultimate goal. A balanced personality is patient, it's grateful, it's charitable, it takes care of itself. لا تنسى نصيبك من الدنيا وأحسن كما أحسن الله إليك. This balance becomes the ultimate goal. And when somebody has balance, you say, man, they have balance. I want balance just like them. You don't say, I want shoes just like them. I want a car just like them. That's Qarun mindset. So you're creating an alternative consumer psychology. This could be revolutionary in the world. And when people see that, you know what this brings in life? It brings, you have money more left to invest. You're creating, again, that balanced economy that doesn't have recession, that doesn't have inflation. It's right in between. You see an entire nation prospering. Everybody's happy. They're not forced to be equal like communism. And they're not creating this extreme disparity like capitalism. Because Islam is not capitalism, it's not socialism, and it's not communism. It's Islam. It has pieces of each, but it doesn't actually endorse any one of those concepts. It has its own economic philosophy. It deserves to be promoted as its own economic identity, right? Now, let's quickly, this is the juiciest of the juiciest parts of my lecture. I promise you, I won't give you a break. Sorry, I said 11, I lied. That was, but you know, the Quran talks about giving customers less. I'm giving customers more. So, okay. Instead of going into the ayats, I'll summarize here. Because I told you each one of these is a study by itself. The Quran makes a special target of the extremely corrupt wealthy. It highlights that they think of other people as nothing. It highlights that they are extremely greedy and they don't spend on anybody. So they create the 0.1% oligarchy. The 0.1% oligarchy. I'm just going to give you the concepts now, so inshallah you can take those home with you, okay? When you create that 0.1% oligarchy, what happens to the middle class? Do you know what happens? Because they're doing extreme savings, right? There's only so much wealth in a society, and a huge chunk of it went to a very small minority. So what happens is the middle class starts squeezing, and the poverty starts increasing. So whenever you have extreme wealth, naturally you will also have extreme poverty. You understand what I'm saying so far? Okay. When you have those two, let's think about, we already thought about what happens when you have extreme wealth. Those people basically control the law. They create more corrupt, they advantage themselves. They create even more oppression. They suck up all the wealth. We know all the cancer that comes with that. But what happens at the bottom? Let me tell you what happens at the bottom. If you look at any society that has extremely bad economic situation, when they go into an extreme recession, extreme inflation, job market is bad, everything's bad. People can't afford rent. That kind of thing. Groceries are becoming difficult. When you find a situation like that, I'll show you the slide so you can, this one you can take a picture of. These slides were not for you, they were for me. The result of an oligarchy. Take a picture of that one. it becomes an extreme debt society. What does the Quran call that debt society? Riba. A riba economy. People can't afford it, they're taking more and more loans, and loan sharks come in, and because people are desperate, they need to take loans. Okay. Families break up, women are on the streets, they gotta survive somehow, prostitution increases. In every society that has an economic crisis, you'll see a rise in debt, you'll see a rise in prostitution. Zina. You'll see a rise in theft and murder. Local grocery store being robbed, carjackings, people breaking into homes. People start off trying to steal. When someone gets in their way, they get what? Murder. So stealing and theft, murder and robbery lead to more serious crime. And then organized crime happens and murders, gangs, etc., etc. Of course, the next thing that comes in that society, people can't deal with their problems, so they need to escape that reality, so they get into what? Substance abuse, drugs increase, alcohol increases, whether it's cocaine or marijuana or this or that, or alcohol goes through the roof, because people don't want to live in the disturbing, dark reality of not being able to provide for themselves, right? And of course, people then imagine that maybe I'll just get rich quickly. And what's the way to try to get rich quickly? Gambling. These are the things that are a natural consequence of corrupt, wealthy elites, because they create a large under the poverty line population, and these things explode in that society across the world. And this has happened throughout history. It happens today. This is a reality. This is not just something that I'm imagining. This is a reality around the world. Okay? Now, keep this in mind. I'll ask you about it. So I know you have bad memories, so take a picture. Okay? I already told you it creates a society of Qarun and his fans. So we've got that. Because of a Qarun society, what's the most valuable thing that you dream about? To be Qarun. Wealth. So what no longer has value? Morality, justice are no longer attractive assets. If somebody's a good person, yeah, you're a good person, but we have to live in the real world. Yeah, I understand that you fear Allah, but I still have to take a bribe because I have to pay the bills. Because in the end, Qarun is the reality. You and your morals, you and your salah, you and your astaghfirullah, just take it to Ramadan, okay? Keep it in the masjid. You understand? So the moral outlook becomes valueless. It's a nice to have, but the reality is Qarun-based reality. You understand? And that becomes spread across the society. Moral values are no longer valuable, basically, right? Now, let's talk a little bit about what happens. What were the things that a society develops when there's a bad economy? What comes into society? What was the first thing I said? Riba? Is that haram in Islam? Okay, then the second one? Haram in Islam? What's next? Huh? Theft, haram? Murder? Haram? What else? Haram? Gambling? So all the things the Quran talked about being haram have to do with a collapsed economy? Huh. So on the one hand, the Quran went after the obscenely corrupt rich, and on the other hand, the Quran said we have to get rid of these problems at the bottom. Do you see what the Quran just did? It attacked the top and it attacked the bottom. What was the solution for the top? You replace the corrupt elite with what? Do you replace them with the poor? Responsible wealthy. Responsible wealthy. We're going to learn how the Quran creates the responsible wealthy. Imagine, are you guys familiar with the Rockefellers? Okay. Or the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers, or maybe in 100 years from now, the Musks, the Bezoses. Okay, let's just say. The thing is, the Rockefellers, billionaires, their children took the wealth, their children took the wealth, their children took the wealth, yes? And imagine a grandchild of the Rockefellers. By the time they're born, they're already a multi-billionaire. They never earned a penny of it, but they're already a multi-billionaire. And if their great-grandfather bought a house, or bought a building, or bought a farm, or bought whatever asset, is that asset worth the same or much, much more now? So the Rothschilds, as the family continues in generations, take a larger and larger and larger share of the economy. All concentrated in one family. You understand? All building wealth for that one family. Okay. Quran comes along and says, when you have money and you die, what should happen to your money? Your dad gets a piece, your mom gets a piece, your brother gets a piece, your sister gets a piece, your daughter gets a piece, your son gets a piece. Right? Okay, now and your wife gets a piece, your husband gets a piece, in whatever case. Do many of those people marry and then die and then marry and have children and then die? What happens to the Rothschilds if they were Roth Karims? What happens to their wealth? In a few generations, instead of the wealth concentrating and getting bigger and bigger for that family, the wealth keeps spreading and spreading and spreading and spreading. The Qur'an, just with one law, breaks up the oligarchy. Just with one law. And when you break up the oligarchy, the wealth doesn't stay way up there, which means you don't necessarily get an extreme poverty at the bottom. Right? Okay. Let's look at marriage law. This is controversial, but it needs to be said. Kings in the past had one queen and 1,000 women. Whether they were Japanese kings or Chinese kings, or whether they were Roman kings, or even Muslims had their fun. You know, this was the history of the world. This is the history of the world. The Qur'an introduced a few things that revolutionized marriage. People don't often realize that, but marriage is actually one of the most important financial institutions in the world. Qur'an revolutionized marriage in a few ways. One, for the first time, the Qur'an made it official that the financial responsibility for the household is the man's. وَبِمَا أَنفَقُوا مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ. Men have to be the financial providers for the household. Okay. The Qur'an also provided that getting married should be easy. And getting divorced should go with a process but also be made easy. And getting remarried should also be easy. Quran also made it clear that children should be provided for by the father. And all children of the father will inherit the father. All children will inherit the father. There are these few things. And then Allah talked about polygamy, right? Marrying more than one woman, which is very controversial in the modern world. But understand something. Who was marrying more than one woman? Poor people or rich people? Rich people. If you're poor and you're marrying more than one woman, you're a suicide prone, right? These were rich people that were marrying more than one. What did Allah say exactly? He said, فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تُقْسِطُوا فِي الْيَتَامَى فَانْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّن النِّسَاءِ مَثْنَى وَثُلَاثَ وَرُبَاعَ. If you can't do justice with orphans, marry women that you may like, 2, 3, or up to 4. So there are two people mentioned here, orphans and women, yes? I need you to understand, when somebody's father dies, they're called an orphan. In Arabic, in the Arabic culture, when someone's father dies, they're called an orphan. When someone's mother dies, they're not called an orphan. But when someone's father dies, they're called an orphan. So when Allah is talking about you can't do justice between orphans, He's talking about people who has died? Father has died. And then He said, then you can marry the women up 2, 3, or 4. So who's He in? This is actually found in our classical tafsir. The indication here is marry the mothers of orphan children. Marry the mothers of orphan children is an encouragement in the Quran. Now imagine a wealthy man marries these women that had orphan children. Right? Now when he dies, she gets a piece of the inheritance. But when he's alive, he's taking care of those orphans too. It made it a natural pathway for him to take care of those orphans. Those orphans, if he didn't take care of them, if he didn't marry them, that woman had a bunch of orphan children who would have been on the streets. Who would have been more prone to, what were the things that were mentioned that were bad? Zina, what else? Theft, murder, robbery, gambling. Who was more prone, statistically more inclined to fall into those things? People that don't have a father figure. If you study criminology, you'll know that. You'll know that. And by the way, all of those crimes, do they help or hurt an economy? They hurt an economy, because when you have a lot of theft, gambling, this, that, prostitution, what happens to the real estate value in the area? What happens to the policing cost of that area? What happens to the justice system that gets overwhelmed in that area? Tax money is going to take care of all these criminals, jailing those criminals, punishing those criminals, all this stuff. And investment is going away from that area, right? So the economy is getting destroyed. When these men marry these women that were of orphan children, those orphans now have a home, they're taken care of. They're off the streets, basically. Right? So they're no longer, I'm again only talking economically right now. They're no longer an economic liability on society. They have a pathway towards upwards mobility. Then what happens is, when that man dies, inheritance happens. And by the way, even ma malakat aymanukum, again controversial, but historically I want you to understand, the word ma malakat aymanukum, what your right hands possess, was not used in Arabic. They used sariya, jariya, they used other words for slaves, ama, right? But this is a term coined by the Qur'an, what your right hands possess. And even though I won't go into detail about that, I'll tell you one thing about it. You guys don't watch TV shows, so it's hard to explain this. But there used to be kings in the world, kings that had a queen, and they had 1,000 other side women. And they had children with those side women. But those were considered bastard children. They died on the street. Who got the throne? The child that came from the queen. All those others, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you are born of the king, you are not a legitimate child of the king. You understand? When the Qur'an talked about the right hand possession, and then the Qur'an also talked about inheritance law, and Allah said, Yusikumullahu fi awladikum. Allah is giving you counsel in the matter of all of your children. They all get this share. Did Allah separate the children from the right hand possession and the wife, or just said all your children? All your children. So even if they were slaves at one point, did their children become inheritors? Which means in a couple of generations, even in one generation, they got normalized into society. And if slaves are at the bottom of the economic ladder, through this process, what happened to those families that were at the bottom of the economic ladder? Through marriage and inheritance, there's an economic ascension in Islam's legal framework. So there's the consumer behavior and the business behavior, and in the legal framework, family and inheritance law was a way of actually not letting society fall into extreme poverty. That's why the Qur'an, instead of we learn in the Qur'an you have to create social welfare programs or orphanages or this, instead of that, marry more. Instead of that, give inheritance properly. Instead, this is, and take care of your family first. وَآتِ ذَا الْقُرْبَ حَقَّهُ. Give the family close relatives, take care of the close family relatives. When inheritance is about to be distributed and orphans show up, poor people show up, give them as much as you can. Free as many people as you can from slavery. Why? Because the entire system of the Qur'an is people should be elevated from wealth. That's the system of the Qur'an. And even if it doesn't happen in one generation, if the Qur'an came in a society where this was this extreme, because of this system, the Qur'an brought economic equilibrium to that society, right? And so you can have societies in the world that have this, and the Qur'an's got a framework on the consumer behavior side, on the business behavior side, and on the family life side that will now bring economic equilibrium. That's what the Qur'an's framework is. Whether it's politically correct or not is not what I'm talking. I'm just here to talk about economics tonight, right? So zakah, sadaqah, investment into people. I talked about yut'imuna at-ta'am, investing into people itself is something that the Qur'an promoted. And so now I come to the last thing to share with you for the evening. This is the last thing. I'll tell you something about the enemies of Islam. One of the Qur'an's phrases for the enemies of Islam is الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. Those who disbelieved. Those who denied the Prophet ﷺ. Okay? Allah says they have a relationship with each other. They're different tribes. They're not just one tribe. They're different tribes, different families. And I told you, every family looks out for themselves, right? But Allah says, بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. They are all wali to each other. They are all what? Wali to each other. So they're very good at this relationship they have with each other, which is that they are wali. Anyway, wali means, the Arabic word wali means one stuck to someone else. Wilya was the cushion at the bottom of a horse's saddle because the cushion is stuck to the horse's saddle. When things are glued to each other. When two people are wali of each other, if I take a right, my wali takes a right. If I make a mistake, my wali says, let me help you with that mistake. If I have a wali, I punch a guy, he says, I'll punch him also. Okay? So you have, for example, the American-Israeli alliance could be awliya. Because one turns, the other turns. One says, the other says, right? And sometimes it starts peeling a little bit like recently, but generally they're awliya. Allah says the disbelievers are awliya to each other. In the same surah, Allah actually previously said that the believers, the muhajirun and the ansar, ba'duhum awliya'u ba'd. They're the believers who migrated and the people in Medina are also awliya to each other. But one of them is actually awliya and the other one is supposed to be awliya. They're supposed to be awliya. Listen to this ayah. Allah says, the disbelievers are awliya to each other إِلَّا تَفْعَلُوهُ يعني الولاء إلا تفعلوا الولاء تكون فتنة في الأرض. If you don't establish alliance among you, there will be huge fitna in the world. There will be corruption in the world. The world will be put to test. What does fitna look like? The extreme wealthy are wealthy, the extreme poor are extremely poor. That's fitna. Allah says when believers don't become what? Awliya, there's going to be fitna. But Allah said, the disbelievers are already what? Awliya. Which means, maybe, if you want to learn what awliya is, in the economic sense, let's understand what kind of awliya the kuffar are. What kind of awliya are they? Awliya in the ancient world, in pre-Islam, the wali tribe was two tribes that shared resources, that did business with each other, that did marriages among each other, that traveled together, that if one of them was attacked, the other one would also defend. This was wilaya. This was the concept of wilaya between tribes. And if I was in a tribe and some new guy came, he's not from my tribe. He's not from my tribe, but he's living in my tribe. And we got attacked and he fought with us. He defended my tribe too. So I want to give him tribe citizenship. Even though you're not born of my tribe, I want to make you an honorary member of my tribe. That was called a mawla. The citizen, the naturalized citizen was called a mawla. So, and mawla al-qawm minhum, the Arab used to say, that if you're a mawla and you make a mistake, the tribe will pay for it. Well, we got you covered. We're with you. We stand with you. But the concept of wilaya wasn't just a military one or a fighting one. The concept of wilaya was an economic one and a family ties one. Now in this ayah, in the last ayah, Allah says, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِن بَعْدُ وَهَاجَرُوا وَجَاهَدُوا. So we're in Medina, and there are people who believed afterwards, and there are people who migrated. So there's two groups. There's the Meccan people and the Medinan people. They're all Muslims, right? Are they the same, technically the same ethnicity? No, they're different families. Meccans are their own people, the Qurayshis, the Hashimis, etc. The Medinans, the Aus and Khazraj and others are their own families. And they have very strong family identity. They don't mix easily, right? Allah says, فَأُولَٰئِكَ مِنْكُمْ. But they are also among you. They're a part of you too. Usually, who is considered among you? Someone who is actually from your own people. Who else is considered among you? Someone who gets naturalized citizenship by fighting alongside you. This is closer to the second one, right? Muhajirun and Ansar are being made allies to each other. But even then Allah says, وَأُولُو الْأَرْحَامِ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلَى بِبَعْضٍ فِي كِتَابِ اللَّهِ. But the people of close family ties have priority in the book of Allah. Listen carefully, please. This is important and subtle. Malaysia, Indonesia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Yemen, Sudan, name a Muslim country, right? We have many clans inside these families, but overall, it's generally it's one or two or three different main ethnicities. And even if you take a national identity, Malaysians are the Malaysian people. If you understand this concept, Indonesians are Muslim and Malaysians are Muslim. But Malaysia's first priority should be ulul arham, their own family. That's their first priority. While they don't consider their neighbor some other, they're also a part of the alliance. Just like Let me make it simpler for you. In Islam, should I be the best to my neighbor? Yes. Should I be the best to my family? But who should I take care of first? Family and then neighbor. I don't get to say, I care for my family, that's why I burnt my neighbor's house down. No. I care for my family, and now that I've taken care of my family, I make sure also that I am good with my neighbor, right? This is the mentality of Muslims aligning with each other. You have to clean in-house, and you have to build alliances. And when you build alliances, you're cooperating. You have the well, they have the animals. You have the farm, they have the storage. You have different resources. You learn to barter and trade and negotiate and do the best for both. And then you have joint defense. And then you make family ties. And then you make other kinds of alliances. This, when two nations do this, then a third nation jumps in. Then a fourth nation jumps in. Then a fifth nation jumps in. Or there's two over here and there's two over there. And they're developing wilaya. And this is what the Europeans did fairly well for a while, called the European Union. Right? They developed a wilaya. This is what the United States did when they formed the United States. They established a kind of wilaya. When I travel from New York to New Jersey, or from New Jersey to Delaware, or Delaware to Maryland, or Maryland to Virginia, there's no border. Just go. My license works anywhere in the country. I can buy products or buy property or whatever anywhere. The regulations became easy. Why? Because they're united as a states, right? So trade became easy. Movement became easy. When Muslims understand this, then we're going to build a wilaya-based economy. The first thing we're going to build is a wilaya-based economy. What does that do? That means that maybe one of the Muslim countries has a surplus of medical students or medical graduates. Another has a surplus of engineers. Another has a surplus of mineral resources, etc. We learn to import and export even human resources from each other. There's the booming tech industry in one of the countries, like Kosovo, for example, a Muslim country, has a booming tech industry. Booming entrepreneurs. There's no reason, for example, the Malaysians shouldn't do what the Americans did. The Americans did something incredible, in my opinion. Not now. But before. You know what they did? They said, you know what? We're open for business. Come on. You want to come here? You want to open up a Pakistani restaurant? Do it. You want to open up a Bangladeshi cuisine? Do it. You want to open up a tech firm? You want to open up a clinic? You want to become have a psychiatric office? You want to get into crypto? Come on, do it. Set up shop. Just come and do it here. Invest with us. And you want to get a higher education? Come. You want a path towards citizenship? Okay, we'll give you citizenship. So now you got some of the smartest people in the world for decades were leaving their countries and coming where? So the US, because they were offering wilaya. Right? And now you can start your business. You can work with other people. There's no barriers. There's no, when I go to the post office, they don't say, white people have this line, brown people have that line. They don't have a different price for the postage stamp. They don't have different regulations. A driver's license is a driver's license, right? And what happened as a result? It's not that the minorities flourished. The economy of the United States flourished. When you go to some of the most successful companies in America, for example, you'll see a lot of colors. You'll see a lot of color variety in the headquarters of Google or Facebook or, Instagram or some of these tech giants, right? Or Amazon even. You're going to see, because they don't care about what race you came from. Their ultimate wilaya is economic wilaya. So long as we can make money off of you, you're good. Right? Open for business. Why shouldn't, and what happens to other nations, not just Muslim nations, but other nations, they say, no, we have to take care of our people first. Right? So we have to stop immigration. No. You don't have to necessarily, you should stop immigration in the sense if you're not doing well economically, you don't need to bring in millions of refugees and you weren't surviving and they're not surviving. That's different. But if they have skilled labor that can thrive here, they have business people that can thrive here. When successful businesses come here and then successful businesses open up second branches there, what happens? Both nations are thriving. Wilaya is forming. Wilaya is forming. Right now, it is more advantageous for Muslim successful companies to open up their second headquarters or their third office or fourth office in Ireland or in the Netherlands, or in America, or in Canada, but they're not thinking I should open up another office in another Muslim country. Right? We're not thinking like, because the opportunity isn't there. The open business culture isn't there. The wilaya isn't there. So when we develop that kind of wilaya model, when we encourage and foster that kind of wilaya model, then the best talents of the ummah can actually have an exchange and all nations can benefit. And I'm telling you, they already have wilaya. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. And Allah says, until Muslims do it, what will be there in the world? تَكُنْ فِتْنَةٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَفَسَادٌ كَبِيرٌ. There will be huge fitna in the world and major corruption. There will be crime. And by the way, if Muslims, let's use our imagination. Let's it's late, 1 minute. We'll use our imagination. Imagine there's extremely strong economic ties between 12, 13, 15 Muslim countries. They're sharing tech, resources, business, open visas. There, you can open up business branches on united currency. Let's use our imagination for a moment, right? Banking is easy, travel is easy. It's like going from New Jersey to DC is going from here to another Muslim country. No problems. Fly through the border, etc., right? Taxation has become smooth. If that happens, and then these Muslim countries are pioneering in essential industries. They're not just creating halal products for Muslims to eat better chicken. They're creating products that the entire world needs. Now they're creating the best cars. Now they're creating the best drones. Now they're creating the best satellites. Now they're creating the best, infrastructure, etc. They're the builders now. What happens when a country attacks a Muslim nation or a Muslim population? They'll think twice, because not only will the Muslims, before the Muslims respond militarily, Muslims will have the power to respond how? Economically. And when you will have economic consequences for messing around, you're going to think a million times. When you have military consequences, you'll just say, we have bigger bombs, it's okay. We'll handle it. That's okay, that'll just make more money for our weapons manufacturers. It's okay, it's a return on investment. Some blood, no problem, more profits. That's how they think. But when there's going to be economic downturn, because there's an economic block, there's a thriving economy, and in the absence of that economy, the entire world will suffocate. Look at what China's been able to do. If China decides that they stop doing business with one country, you think that country is just gonna, we don't care. Even America, I live in Texas. Texas is about as American as it gets. I was just fixing up my house, and I got a new door, and I went to a door warehouse in Texas, in Dallas. I like this door. I was like, yeah, man, I only got 3 of those left because they come from China. And I ain't getting no more doors because of them tariffs. It's going to be hard for business out here. If China can influence that dude sitting in Texas, for what? Did they have a military presence? Did they intimidate them diplomatically? What's the power? It's economic power. It's economic power. When Muslims build that, then we are in a position to put an end to fitna in the world. إِلَّا تَفْعَلُوهُ تَكُنْ fitna. When Muslims say, what can we do with all the crises that are happening in the ummah? I say, build wilayah. Build a strong economy. Start with your own nation, expand. Start and then expand. Think about all the young university students here should be thinking, how do we, KL is fairly developed, but there are towns outside of KL that could use a lot of development. How do I bring entrepreneurship and industry and economic development to my village? How do I build it to this outside town? How do I do that? Pop-up cities, pop-up infrastructure, pop-up development, upscale education. And when that starts happening, foreign investment will want to be a part of the action. And when foreign investment comes, if we do this right, and if we create this culture, then that investment will exchange Muslim hands 5, 6, 7, 8 times and build wealth before it goes outside. These are some thoughts I had about Qur'an and the global economy that I just wanted to drop some nuggets, but I think, inshallah ta'ala, if the younger generation especially, and even the business community, take some of these ideas to heart, and some of you are important figures in shaping policy, shaping discussions, I think there's a framework that the Qur'an has to offer that's very relevant. And it can shape the fate of this ummah. And Allah has given us a responsibility to be vehicles of good. So I pray that inshallah good comes from these discussions and people are able to take them a lot further than I'm able to take them. Barakallahu li wa lakum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.